Hi, this is Mark Nedgeman. I'm coming to you for newsweed.com, and I'm coming to you from Nutley, New Jersey, just outside New York City. Get ready to wait for my buddy Ken to come, and we're going to take a walk through this park and just kind of get a little exercise. I did some swimming just before, and I'll finish the day off this and then watch the Knicks game. So, as usual, I'm going to talk about Thriva Biologics. I got a lot of comments about how foolish I look with Thriva Biologics. I'm still with my investment, which is several $100,000 in Thriva, more than $500,000. And I've gone through the whole stage of being up, being down, being up, being down in terms of emotions. But now I'm going to talk about what I think is happening with the company. There's been 3 fake offerings. In other words, they put out an offering that were incomplete and they didn't conclude with it. Supposedly on the 27th is the last day that they can use this offering, 27th of April, but still they haven't put out a completed one. So what does that mean? Maybe the company is being sold, maybe there's a merger, maybe there's a partnership. Anything is possible. We know we've had a lot of good data since long before past summer on C. diff. I believe there's a new drug to make chemo much more comfortable for people with the stomach. I think there's another new drug coming out. There's SIN20. Then there's the drug for retinoblastoma. All these drugs, I guess, have a value, but to what value we don't really know. Let's assume maybe the company is going to be sold because if we haven't raised the capital, we just don't have enough time with the capital we have left, which I think is down below $20 million. So maybe someone came in and offered money for the company, or maybe the company was actively trying to do a merger with somebody. So I think that this whole past 3 years that I've been involved with the company has been complicated, confusing, frustrating, made me angry, made me want to, say bad things about Shallcross and the rest of the people there. But let's look back at it and see what really happened. Bought the stock for the purpose of C. diff. What's the market value of C. diff? Well, supposedly, if there was actually a C. diff drug that would eliminate the problem of C. diff, it's about a $1.05 billion a year market. Okay, keep that figure in your mind. Now, we know we have a patent for curing C. diff, and we just had another patent for how to manufacture the C. difficile drug. So let's assume we pretty much have it. They haven't gone through phase 3, but that might be passed on by the FDA. Who knows? Or it might be from the position it's in now, sold off to a company, and what's the value it's going to be. Then we have VCN. The VCN drug is an oncolytic virus that allows pancreatic cancer, after it's metastatic, to give longer life. So if they're testing it when the patient is already in a metastatic state, in other words, it's spreading to other organs, and we get the results, and the results are good, that the patients have lived longer beyond that metastatic state, then that's going to be some pretty good numbers that will probably drive the stock price up, or maybe that's where the value is with a merger and a takeover. How much is that? Well, they say that it's about an $8 billion market because your price levels are higher because there's no other solution for pancreatic cancer. So let's take those numbers into consideration. $1 billion a year for CDIF, $8 billion for VCN pancreatic cancer, another multi-billion for the drug that makes chemo more comfortable in the stomach for patients, which is a very huge market because that's all cancer, right? So let's be conservative and say that it's $3 billion yearly, okay? And then, we have all the data that was collected and so forth. The company has spent about $400 billion trying to get to this point. And now it looks like maybe, possibly, there's going to be a merger or a buyout. So how much would the buyout be? Well, for one, we know that for calculating this, we know what we just discussed. $1 billion a year, $3 billion a year, and $8 billion a year. If we add those all together, let's just use, for the sake of argument, $5 billion in sales that can be generated yearly. Okay? So what is the company possibly could be bought for? In my opinion, well, typically when they buy a business, you're going to go 5 times the potential revenue, but we don't have any revenue yet. So let's discount that and say 2 times. So 1 billion plus 3 billion, that's 4 billion, plus 8 billion, that's 12 billion. Could this company possibly be taken over for approximately $12 billion? And what would that do to the stock price? Well, supposedly you take the number of shares, which are 2,800,000 on the high side, and then you divide that by the 12 billion. 12 billion divided by 2,800,000. But also what you have to do is consider the options and the warrants that are out there. So let's say the worst scenario, this drives up to $6 or $7 million, 6 or 7 million shares that takes the dilution of the purchase price. Now, a big company might actually be offering shares to us. It's hard to say. Maybe a Merck or an Eli Lilly or a Pfizer or these new companies that are popping up, the Endos, the companies in Ireland. We don't really know, but the number should be pretty big if there's going to be a buyout. If there's not going to be a buyout, there better be a merger, because we just don't have any money in the bank. So it's a scary time, and it's a hopeful time, and I'm going to go with the hopeful part. If it's $12 billion, what is that going to mean per share? Now, I had said in previous videos that I think each share is worth $2,000. With dilution at $12 billion, it should be worth $6,000. Let's dilute that down, $3,000. Who's to say what it is? Now, let's talk about all the reverse splits and everything that happened with this company. From what I understand, there's been 4 reverse splits since 2008. And I think Shallcross was involved with at least 3 of them. One I know was 1 for 3. Another one I know was 1 for 35. Another one was 1 for 10. I lived through that one. And another one was 1 for 25. That made everybody pretty mad. If you had 250,000 shares, what do you come out with after a 1 for 10? What do you come out with after a 1 for 25? It's not good. And a lot of people dumped their stock. I mean, dumped it. They're just like, forget it. Why did we want to only have 3 million shares? It looks like they were running the company into the ground. But what if Shallcross is a genius? What if he knew the value of these drugs ahead of time, and he just wanted to get rid of as many shareholders as possible? Well, I can tell you right now, I doubled my position pretty much on every reverse split. But a lot of people, like Greg, I don't know if you're watching this, but I know you sold your shares. Bobby, I know you sold your shares. A lot of people sold their shares. I think the smart people bought. And I think the smart people are going to be very happy. Because if Shallcross was actually reverse splitting to get people out and to have more control of the company, that's pretty brilliant. Everybody thinks a reverse split is bad, but maybe with Thriva Biologics, Tovx, formerly Syn Biologics, SYN Biologics, maybe this is going to end up being the most brilliant Wall Street move ever. Can only hope so. This is Mark from Newsweed.com, a guy that's been living in his truck for 9 months because he wouldn't sell 1 share of Thriva Biologics. Freezing my noogies off. Tonight I'm going to have to sweat my noogies off. In the meantime, let's hope that Tovx stock goes up. Have a good holiday. Tomorrow's the end of Passover and it's Easter. The best to everyone. Mark from newsweed.com.